Tennessee's Mike Matthews will say it's a game of margins. I like to say everything you need to know are in the details. But it's probably wise to not let much of the game against ETSU and Tennessee's 72-17 win inflate your opinion of the Vols too much. But I think these key plays absolutely should. What impressed me in week 2? I'm Paige Dower on Full Disclosure. Quickly, just to look at Joey Aguilar. Once again, he continues to impress. He continues to be the quarterback that the Volunteers need. He was 24 of 31, completed 74% of his passes, 288 yards, and a pair of touchdowns. And he did that in just one singular half of football. I don't think Tennessee did much of that a season ago. A little bit more into what he was able to do last night. I know we kind of touched on it in my immediate reactions to the game, but only 9 of his passes went for fewer than 10 yards. 14 of them were a first down or better. So he continues to stretch the field in a positive way, vertically down the field. I think a lot last year is a ton of checkdowns, a ton of, seeing what was out in the flat. Joey Aguilar in this offense has found a good way to be able to stretch the field here. One way they did that was the touchdown pass to Mike Matthews. We talked last night why I found that impressive. The other touchdown that I found really impressive was the very first one of the game. So this one went to Chris Brazzell. What was impressive about it is in both touchdowns, Joey Aguilar needed a lot of poise in the pocket. He needed to have trust in his offensive linemen to maintain the pocket. Then, once he needed to maybe create some space for his wide receivers, get the defenders to get off of the intended receiver, he realized maybe he needs to roll out a little bit more. What was impressive about that was even, especially the one on Mike Matthews' touchdown, when you've got a defender right in your face, he was still able to get the ball off.
I was rolling. There was a lot of green grass left side of the field. Trav was clearing out, so I told Mike to get in that area. Had a flip, turn around, defender was in my face pretty quick, so I threw the ball up, and Mike came down with it, made a great play.
Being able to get the ball to receivers in tight windows is, let's say a massive detail, because tight windows will probably be what Joey Aguilar is dealing with and trying to operate with for the remainder of the season. There's not going to be a ton of opportunities where you have these giant windows and really you see a ton of busted coverage and your intended receiver is wide open. Of course, Chris Brazzell was pretty open at the back of the end zone, still had to split defenders to get there. It was also a 21-yard touchdown completion, so another explosive play for the Volunteers. And I think that is starting to look like a difference between Joey Aguilar and Georgia's quarterback and Gunnar Stockton against Austin Peay. And I understand the weather was bad. I understand that they went through some weather delays. It is still Austin Peay. It is still ETSU. Arguments can be pretty similar on that front. One of his longest passes went just 19 yards. I'm finding in, kind of reading some articles and looking at those games, the complaint of Gunnar Stockton right now is that they're not really stretching the field vertically so far through a couple of games. Again, weather maybe was a factor in that game, but what I like about what Joey Aguilar has done is that despite the couple of opponents that they faced, he does a really good job of finding receivers downfield and not just getting the easy check down, not just having a bunch of schemes to have your receivers out in the flat and then they gotta, get some positive yardage starting from at or behind the line of scrimmage. So I thought that was really important. But my favorite detail probably of the game, and I debated on whether or not I wanted to, put this later in the show or not. I was like, I love this detail, so hopefully you guys will like it too since I've got your attention. So I'm up in the press box for these games, and when we're up in the press box, we're able to come down to the field for the final 5 minutes of the game. So those minutes are very valuable to me, and you know that I love details. So I'm really trying to scan the field to see if there are any details that I'm noticing, or maybe just get some really, good shots of the players on my camera. What I find is that when the offense is in the huddle with, the third and fourth string players, who do I see in the huddle? Oh, it's Joey Aguilar, who hadn't played a single snap of football since the first half of the game. It's the final essential drive for the offense in this game against ETSU. And Joey Aguilar is very active in that huddle. It looks like he's probably helping them with their alignments when they're out there lining up. It looks like he's maybe trying to help them execute some plays. Or maybe even he's just down there just trying to give them confidence, trying to make sure that they're comfortable when they're out on the field. And for the starting quarterback to be out there the final couple minutes of the game, actively involved in the huddle, I think is a massive detail. And I think that's why this team really enjoys playing for Joey Aguilar, why they're out there and they'll put their bodies on the line to go make a play for him, and why there's a lot of trust, why there's a lot of confidence in this team. And it's because of how involved Joey Aguilar is with this team.
Your business can't afford the downtime that comes with a leaky roof. So whether you need a repair or a replacement, count on the professionals from Aguilar Roofing and Construction. Your protection is our passion. We service and sell all types of roofs and have worked with some of East Tennessee's most recognized names. We have 25 years of experience and free inspection estimates, plus best in business warranties. Put an end to your roofing problems today by calling Aguilar Roofing and Construction.
Okay, now back to the field for the other two things that really had me impressed, but hopefully you guys like that other detail with Joey Aguilar. It has to still stay with Chris Brazzell, and for a couple of reasons. Surprisingly, it is just his first 100-yard receiving game as a Tennessee Volunteer. He had done it a couple of times at Tulane, but his first 125-yard game at Tennessee, his first of 100 or more yards. Even more impressive, too, his 2 touchdowns, his first multi-touchdown game at Tennessee, I believe second of his career. Of course, gets that first one from Joey Aguilar and then gets one from Jake Merklinger to start the second half. And part of what allowed him to have this type of success in this game also has to come down to his comfort and honestly probably the volume of reps he's been able to get with Joey Aguilar and the offense and how much he's been in the game now through the first 2 games of the season.
Last year, playing in this type of offense with the speed and tempo was kind of a struggle for me a little bit. So now I'm really comfortable with it my second year, so I'm just out there playing football, really.
VFL Todd Kelly Jr. joins the program Friday mornings at 8:30 in the morning for live ball to preview Tennessee matchups. This one against Georgia should be a really good one. So please make sure you join us here live at 8:30 in the morning on YouTube, or better yet, join us in person at Harper Volkswagen, 8:30 in the morning, Fridays. Mark your calendar. So I guess maybe an angle where I was wrong so far this season is I really thought the younger wide receivers like Rodarius Jackson and Travis Smith would be more involved in these games, especially against ETSU, but those reps with the ones probably is a premium right now since you play Georgia or SEC play so early into the season as the game number 3. But partly it is because of those reps and the volume of reps that they're able to get with Joey Aguilar has led to Mike Matthews looking really good so far, to Chris Brazzell looking really good. A little bit of an off night with Braylon Staley, not able to get a couple of passes, so a few drop incomplete on that one. I'm sure Hypo will talk a little bit more about that on Monday, but it is because they're out there really for the entirety of the game against Syracuse, the entirety of the time that Joey's out there, just the first half against ETSU, that their lack of rotation in the wide receiver room has really strengthened those 3 guys' relationship and connection with Joey Aguilar.
We get to stay in rhythm with the quarterback and stuff versus us going in and coming out. So I personally like staying in the game so I get comfortable within the game.
Okay, so my last detail, it's a sneaky detail, but maybe not in the way that you're thinking. It's Boo Carter. He really impressed me against ETSU. Obviously, just had a couple of punt returns. They went for 94 yards. His longest return went 40 yards, and it's in his returns that make him really electric because of his vision, but better yet, his anticipation. Sometimes, or a couple of times, especially in this game, we saw him kind of like pull up on his run, allowing to see kind of what gaps and seams he was going to be able to find. He hit a couple of really nice vertical seams against ETSU, and it wasn't until I think it was his last punt return where he clearly steps out of bounds at the 4-yard line, but still super rams it into the end zone. And that's where he got some, positive feedback from his teammates kind of going up to him and hyping him in that play. And I think that was a big moment for him and for his teammates because obviously Boo Carter has been working his way back into, let's be honest, good graces with this team after everything that had went down over the summer and, deciding if he was going to be suspended or not. But, they decided to just do, have a ton of voluntary work and you'll slowly work your way back to full team activities. So I think a lot of it for him too is just finding where his maturity is, finding how much he really wants to play football at Tennessee, and the team rebuilding the trust that they have in him through the first couple of games of the season. And I think this one detail about that really stood out to me because it might have been his second punt return or maybe his third one. I think he gets to near midfield, but he's tackled by like 3 or 4 ETSU players, and they take a minute to get off his back once he's been tackled. And of course, all that close contact, there's a little bit of chirping that was about to transpire in that moment. And you could see, because that's who Boo Carter is. I think he loves to be very chirpy. I think he loves to kind of get into the head of his opponent, into the mind of his opponent. But there you could see he kind of pulled back. He did not get into that, chirpiness and that banter as much as he used to or probably wanted to. And I think in that moment, we saw some good maturity out of Boo Carter and in his decision making, because you don't know how these refs are going to swing. I mean, that they could have seen Boo Carter retaliate, unsportsmanlike, or something, a penalty. You cost your team something. You're not really in as good graces with your team anymore. So for him to show the maturity to kind of pull back in that moment and uh, allow his positive run to stay a positive run and not let these extracurriculars get in the way, I thought was a really good sign of maturity and growth for Boo Carter, and hopefully something that the team can continue to rally around as he does probably, in a sense, really make his way back to the team. But his wins on special teams is huge, and those are the kinds of wins you need in close games that I'm anticipating against Georgia.
He set us up great a lot of times, and he a real electric player, just an all around athlete. So, and I've been knowing him. Well, he kind of got me on board with coming here, so I've been knowing him for a while, and I already knew he was a great athlete.
Plenty to be impressed with, plenty to be concerned with. We'll talk about my concerns Monday morning at 11. Turn on your notifications and subscribe if you haven't. I'll be back Monday to talk about things that have me concerned. See you guys then.